Family, what's good with you? Okay, I got that one right. I am in the studio trying out some new tools. There is apparently my the studio that I use, the virtual studio that I use. They have been trying on some different things, and I'm like, yo, let me see how it's gonna make my life easier, how it's gonna be better. Because I used to just like record on one of my devices and then come into the virtual studio and edit and polish it up and do all these different things. I'd resize it for Instagram, for Facebook, for YouTube, for TikTok. Just kind of did all these different things, but I would do all of it manually. Just had to have my hands on the control. But they have this new system where they're like, "Yo, we will do all of the we'll do it all for you. We will create the reels. We'll do the things and all of that." And I was like, "Yeah, sis can appreciate. I definitely would appreciate that assistance, um, because the tools that I used to use, unfortunately, were stolen. About a week ago, someone broke into my car one Sunday when I was on my prayer walk, sunrise prayer walk, and I got to tell you, I look a hot mess, and so like I do the absolute least. So there's nothing about me, so I thought, that said, "Hey, look at me." So I'm sitting there thinking, ain't nobody looking at me because there's a lot of beautiful people that are out there, and I'm like, they'll run by me, and I'm like, "Wait, y'all put on perfume before y'all go exercise? Like, really? That's what we doing?" I was like, "I am not wasting perfume on, when I'm exercising. My perfume costs too much." But anyway, so all that to say, I thought I was doing the absolute least, and even in doing the absolute least in terms of not being noticed, obviously I was noticed, and they came in and they got me. They got all my shit, and so I've now had to be lugging around my workstation, from studio to studio and from conference room, and just from all the different places where I shoot content, where I work at. So um, I am grieving. Um, I'm grieving not so much the loss of my stuff because, real talk, the laptop was old. I needed to replace it anyway. Like I was planning on replacing it. It's like, yo, like it's, yeah, it's time. I need to like to retool. So I was planning on doing that anyway. And then of course, like losing credit cards and all of that stuff, I was able to immediately cancel that, and so even that wasn't the thing. But what really broke me was, well, actually, it didn't break me. It did not break me. It did not break me. What I noted was that the first purchase that they tried to make on my credit card was groceries. They went to the local HEB and got $101 full of groceries, and that card did not go through because I canceled it. But I still got the notice saying, "Hey, someone tried to use your card after it's canceled." And so I was able to see what HEB they were at and report that to the police. And HEB was funny. They were like, "No, man, we cannot give you the footage just in case you try to come and beat the snot out of them for taking your year." So so the cops were like, "Yeah, HEB is not going to release it to you. They'll release it to us." And so I'm like, "Okay, HEB, like chop chop, let's get on it." But I'm grieving, and I'm grieving the desperation of this moment. I know what it's like to be desperate, but I don't know what it's like to be so desperate that I'm going to rob someone else. But apparently, that level of desperation absolutely exists, and I just happen to be a person that that caught that. And so as I was trying to figure out like what I was feeling, it wasn't anger. One of my friends was like, trying to pray curses on them, like, may you shit antlers, may their asshole, tighten up, and I got some really creative friends. I was like, no, may their BMs be comfortable. That's not what I'm after. I'm not really looking for that. But I couldn't figure out exactly what I was looking for, what I was feeling, and I realized that I was grieving that that level of desperation exists, but also that there are people who are grieving in the way that I grieve right now, but people tend to dismiss that grief. So I'm like, oh, this does not feel good. But for those of you who are like, ain't nobody really checking for me in my grief, I want you to know I feel you. And I pray that you have a resolve that you know that everything is going to be okay, because it is. But that if you happen to be one of those people that people don't really see your grief, um, that you would really look at, see, who's in your circle, like who's your tribe, who your people, and find one or two and just call them and say, hey, you know what, I'm not okay. I know that I periodically have to dial up one of my best girlfriends in LA, and because they're like, it's a 2 hour time difference. I can normally get her. Um, and, she's always able to talk me off the ledge, or, my big brother Tommy. I'll call him and I'm like, I'm not okay. And they always have like some really inspiring words. So you don't need a whole bunch of folk, just one or two. So I pray that, for those of you who are grieving and you feel like people are not really seeing your grief because your grief isn't measuring the level of desperation that others are having, where they got to break into cars and steal credit cards to go get groceries. Um, yeah, it's hard out here, but continue to hold fast to just the belief that it's working out bigger and better than we know. So, but don't act like it's not grief. Don't act like you're not feeling the thing. Like feel the thing. Um, so the way two is through. Is that it? I think that's the saying. But anyway, until then, just tell the truth about what you're feeling. Find that one or two people that can hear your truth. Deep breaths. Fall back. Know what feels good. You know, do that thing. Which is why I'm in the studio. The studio feels good to me, so I'm editing some content and about to post some different things. So stay tuned. But until then, keep your girl lifted up. All is well in all manner of things. Um, and it's going to be okay. We're all going to be all right. So continue to hold to that. All right, fam. Blessings to you.